All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This time with a run from Ahmad, doing Mega Man Rock and Roll. So, Ahmad, whenever you're ready, take it away, and give us that 3, 2, 1 countdown when you're ready.
Sure thing, thank you. So, hello guys, I'm Ahmad. I'll be playing rock and roll, and for the commentary, we have LV Greed doing the thing here. Say hello.
Yes, I will be doing something of a thing while doing this run. But yeah, I'm here to help commentate this run. This is a very intense run. I won't be surprised if I will need a lot of focus for it. So I'm here to get that weight off his shoulders as he gets the run going.
All right. So, without further ado, let's do it, and hopefully without a lot of dying because this game is hard. Let's go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so Mega Man Rock and Roll, a game that was created around late November in 2019, where right now you're starting off as Mega Man, and Mega Man pretty much does what a Mega Man does. So he's going to be doing a lot of shooting, a lot of sliding, your classic jump shoot man kind of thing. Of course, he also has his charge shot. His charge shot really doesn't get much use here. You're probably going to use it here and there, but honestly, you're not going to be seeing much of Mega Man at all. Because by the time you get to the intro stage, you get to see the real star of the show. Roll is going to be your main focus for the majority of this run. She actually technically is weaker than Mega Man. She takes a little more damage than Mega Man, a little more frail. She also doesn't have a charge shot, so her power is technically a little weaker than Mega Man's. But the reason we use Roll for the majority of this run, if at least for the 8 Robos, is the fact that her mobility is insane. The fact that she has a double jump alone pretty much just makes her suitable for platforming compared to Mega Man that we're gonna see for the very last time for quite some time in the remainder of the intro stage. So if you want to just wave goodbye to Mega as we see him for the last time for literally about 20 minutes after the intro stage has started, feel free to do so. But otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much the general differences between Mega Man and Roll for the most part, at least until we get to the major meat and potatoes of the 8 Robos. But yeah, if you want to talk about the story, technically there's some entity that's been kidnapping robot masters and been reprogramming them to pretty much destroy the world. Your general world domination, destroy the world kind of thing. And we're pretty much just going to be dealing with them as the game progresses. But here, alright, now we started with Doom Woman. We got ourselves done with the intro stage. It's pretty much gets with the difficult platforming right off the bat. Rock and Roll is probably, as a fan game, probably one of the most difficult games that you'll probably wind up dealing with. A lot of tricky platforming, but Roll can mitigate quite a bit of it with the double jump. As you can see, Amadi's using all of Roll's tactics right from the get-go, just doing all the things that she needs to do, double jumping, shooting, sliding, just the basic movement requirements, and using them to the utmost ability as much as you need to. Meanwhile, Doom Woman stage, you start with Doom Woman because not really because the stage is easy, as you can see right there. It's more the fact that you want her weapon as soon as possible. The weapon that Doom Woman gives you is such a major utility as you continue through the run that you really would like to have it as soon as possible. So after one unfortunate drop, with this stage being as it is, you can just see Ahmad just going through the rest of the stage as we get close to our Doom Woman fight. And Doom Woman, if it wasn't for the fact that Doom Woman weapon is such a high caliber weapon. We will probably do this fight later because she is an RNG nightmare. You will want her to stay above the sands as much as possible. So you don't want to see her go into the sands too many times, and you don't want to see her do her signature technique, the Desert Storm, so many times. Of course, you got to keep your eyes peeled because when she does get out of the sand, she does reveal a sand clone, and you're probably gonna wind up shooting that and wasting time shooting the clone compared to shooting Doom Woman herself. But overall, a pretty decent fight. Not the best RNG because he went to the sands quite a bit, did a lot of her signature weapons. Speaking of which, this is what you get from beating Doom Woman, and it is the Desert Storm. It's basically a combination of the Tornado Blow and Storm Eagle's Charged Storm Tornado. It is a very powerful utility. It will pretty much remove all weaker enemies off the screen and will also deal a lot of damage to slightly stronger enemies. It won't kill, but will definitely do a lot of damage. So, Missile Man stage, as you can see right from the get-go, you're gonna probably see the most important thing. You saw he went to the clouds there. Within that cloud, there is a hidden W tank. So we're going to be using that W tank later on in the game, much later on. But for right now, we're just going to keep that W tank in our back pocket and pretty much carry it through the rest of the game. Meanwhile, Missile Man stage is pretty much a significant obstacle course. A lot of crushers, a lot of conveyors, mechs literally everywhere, all over the stage. And you're pretty much just trying to navigate the stage as quick as possible, just trying to maximize as much time as possible. Of course, using your weapons as need be, and you just saw Desert Storm used right then and there. Just get rid of the med enemies, just remove all the obstacles to try to make your traversal throughout the stage as smooth as possible. So, what you're going to be seeing as you get to this point, one of the most irritating enemies that you would normally see, say, in Mega Man 1, and now they're kind of just a little more docile. They're not random, these footholder platforms. All they do is just move a specific direction, so they're much more tolerable than that, like you see in Iceman stage.
Agreed.
So let's go through this final stretch of crushers and conveyors, making sure that you catch this cycle. Yeah, kind of unfortunate. You definitely want to make sure that you get this cycle the first time, otherwise you do waste time. But as long as you don't get killed, that's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, Missile Man. A little bit of an RNG fest, because you don't want him to be in his missile form. He is invincible when he's in that form, but excellent kill. Pretty much a solid fight. Good RNG. Didn't stay in his missile form for too long, and just pretty much just decimate him with the Desert Storm. You want to make sure you get 2 hits per Desert Storm shot. You got to get into a specific position to get those shots, otherwise you'll probably get 1 shot and you'll wind up maybe wasting a Desert Storm or 2. But otherwise, a pretty good fight, and you get the blast missile, with you can see what it does on screen, but it also has an extra feature that it doesn't show, and you can detonate it early. Like the drill bombs in Mega Man 4, just shoot it again, it will detonate early. And after 2 Robot Masters, you would get your utility items. You start with the Rush Coil. You don't start off with the Rush Coil in the game. You get it after 2 Robot Masters. But once again, since we're not using Mega Man, we're really not caring much about it. At least not right now. So next up is Tideman stage, and I would say by this point the run truly starts. This game really makes use of your weapons, and by this point you're just gonna be sticking with your weapons so much compared to your default weapons that this is where things begin, and this is where ammo consumption and ammo usage winds up being key for the rest of the game. Because starting with Tide Man, you're gonna be using both the Blast Missile and your Desert Storm pretty much throughout the stage, and you're gonna be using it in specific spots so that you can have enough to maximize your Desert Storm use to clear out enemies, and use your Blast Missile, which is the weakness for Tide Man, by the way, but have enough to get by the stage and have enough ammo to take out Tide Man specifically. Also, shout out to Tide Man's stage theme. It's probably my best of the 8 robos, honestly.
It is very good, yeah.
I'm actually
Alright.
just gonna pop in here for just a sec, guys, because we have a donation
Yeah, go on ahead.
from Kiyoshiro. Donated 10 USD. Said, donating to my awesome sauna person here. Go towards any of the current lowest incentive amounts. Thank you so much for the donation.
Thank you, Shiro.
Wait. Much appreciated. As you can see, you saw the Mega Man 2S anglerfish shooting shrimp using the combination of the Desert Storm and the Blast Missile to clear that as quick as possible. You saw the dark rooms where you saw the illuminating lights and get through that as fast as possible. And now we've reached Tide Man. And Tide Man is pretty much a walk in the park. Probably the easiest Robot Master within this run, because all you gotta do is just pretty much just plug Blast Missiles and he just goes down easily. He'll be a little bit of more annoying fight if you use Buster only, because he takes six Buster shots to destroy the bubbles. But otherwise, this was pretty much a decent pattern. You will want small fishes first, which he did get, but he kind of went straight to the shield bubble right away. You would rather him do another attack before going straight to shield bubble. But otherwise, that was just a pretty good fight. And for your troubles, you probably get another extraordinarily good weapon in the shield bubble itself. A pretty good shield. It allows you to float over watery surfaces whenever it's activated. Pretty much just a solid weapon overall as we get into Drake Man's stage. And let me tell you, this is I would say, I've been saying this a lot, this is a weapon intense run. This is probably, among the first half of the 8 Robot Masters, probably the most intensive weapon use stage in the entire game. You're going to be using everything in your arsenal from beginning to end. So once again, it's all about using your weapons to its maximum and using it to the point where you use it and not waste anything, because you're going to be using nearly all your Desert Storm, almost all your Blast Missiles, and you're going to be using your weakness weapon for Drake in the Bubble Shield to get by the stage as well. So it's a lot of proper usage in order to get through the stage as quick as possible. As you can see, he's using... Right now, this is a very solid stage right now. Once again, just... I know I'm going to be repeating myself a lot in regards to weapon uses, but I cannot stress enough about proper weapon uses in this run. This is probably why this is one of the better speed games for a Mega Man, either official or fan game, because the weapon usage is just so paramount to how you run through the game that it just looks so good when you do everything correctly. And that was actually a really solid stage. Drake Man stage can be a real nuisance if you end up losing all your weapons. And that was a pretty solid fight. Drake Man, technically it's simply easy fight compared to some others. There is a little bit of RNG involved depending if he wants to stay on the walls or not, go down to your levels, fly across the room and such, but other than that, that was a pretty solid fight. So, what you get the fire breath. You get Roll literally spitting hot fire at your opponents. As you see, you're pretty much seeing all the uses and utilities that the fire breath uses, but this is, now you're seeing why Roll is far and beyond the best player in the game. After 4 bosses, and this is pretty much why we routed the run as it is, you get Beat Lift. And Beat Lift We do not call Beat a stupid bird for the most part because Beat Lift is borderline broken. So what Beat Lift does is pretty much the variant of Beat that carries you as you fly over like obstacles, pits, that kind of Beat deal. But Beat pretty much just adds to Rose mobility so much that she just basically just ignores a large amount of platforming. You can see it right here as we use it in Polar Woman stage to just skip as much platforming as possible. So as you can see, you will probably normally use the conveyor belts and the hooks in order to go around the bow platforming as intended, but because we got the Beat Lift, we just pretty much just say no to it. And we even use it like to, as you can see I'm about to do now, just try to grab ladders. Beat is probably the best at vertical movement. So if you want kind of like extra height, you pretty much just want to use Beat there as much as possible. Meanwhile, Polar Woman stage, pretty much your basic ice level with a little bit of water influence as well. You saw that there are some Mario 2 influenced whales earlier on. Use that to try to navigate the stage as quick as possible. And you're also seeing a lot of Bubble Shield usage. Bubble Shield, pretty much thanks to its buoyancy ability, you can use that to just bypass a lot of the platforming safely and just get through it as fast as possible. Normally you have to shoot the icicles and just try to safely navigate it standing on the icicle platforms. And let's see what Polar Woman does. A little bit of an RNG issue here, but
Nice.
Perfect fight. You definitely want her to do 2 pirouettes so you can deal the maximum amount of hits and damage as possible. She does have 3 attacks. Both of them, there are 2 that are manageable, but you don't want her to go straight into the air and fire icicles on the ground. She goes into the air and wastes time, and fortunately we didn't see none of that. So, the Snow Roller. Snow Roller is a pretty interesting weapon. You can pretty much match it, but the real deal is that when it's fully charged, you can actually freeze any and all enemies, and they actually act as platforms as well. You probably won't see that ability that much, but it's still a pretty useful weapon if you want to get by enemies in a casual setting. So, Reactor Man stage. I heard you might like Quick Man lasers. Yes? No? Maybe? No?
No.
Oh, okay. Didn't think so, but yeah, Reactor Man stage is basically kind of like your Quick Man level, but it's a little bit more manageable in that there are just areas where you don't have to worry about timing all that much. You're pretty much in a more controlled environment, more controlled than you think you would be for a gimmick like this. Take out that bulb mini boss very quickly with the fire breath. There are other ways you can do it just as fast, but for me and Ahmad, we both like the fire breath strat. So for most part, it's just trying to get by all the instant kill laser obstacles as quickly yet as safely as possible. As you expect, the lasers are instant kill, so naturally we don't want that. But once again, it's just utilizing all your weapons, as you can see, using the shield bubble to mow through all the enemies, using blast missile to get by enemies as well whenever the need calls for it. And as you can see, yeah, just a pretty controlled environment with the lasers. You're never in a real dangerous position too much, because there is plenty of time to react to the lasers. It's just the fact that you got to be on your guard that you don't get into a position where the lasers can be in a position to kill you. And that was a pretty solid stage by Ahmad. Very well done. Meanwhile, Reactor Man, pretty intense fight. His attacks deal a lot of damage, but what you want to see in this fight is you can see a lot of half charges. Half charge Snow Roller deal 3 damage, and that was an excellent fight. Pretty much good RNG. a very well done final mod. How you feeling right now?
Pretty good. I missed one shot, but yeah, that was almost perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to get caught in the iframes because you want to maximize your damage as well as your DPS. So hitting in iframes is a real possibility. Trying to beat the reactor fight fast.
Yeah.
But for your trouble, you do get charge laser. You don't get to see charge laser all that much, but it's a pretty decent weapon as long as you hold it. Do not mash the charge laser. If you want to use your charge laser to its maximum, hold it. Don't mash it. You'll waste your energy very, very quickly that way. Also, as you can see, after 6 boxes, you do get Rush Jet. So you get Rush Jet relatively late. So, once again, another reason why Mega Man is inferior to Roll for 8 Robot Masters.
Indeed.
So, Ghost Woman in this, I'm gonna say it's kind of like a fun house, castle-ish stage, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, what you're gonna see here is actually another main gimmick that you normally wouldn't see, except here. You're gonna need to go through here eventually. The lore is that 4 Robot Masters have been captured. You saw them in the intro stage. Within 4 levels, you get to fight them. And for the 80% run, you actually will fight Skullman, who is our cameo boss from Mega Man 4 that you see in the run. No, you will have to deal with him eventually. We'll tell you when later, but for the run, we just go through here. It's along the way, and you can just do it right then and there. As you saw, the blast missile just makes short work of them. Meanwhile, the second half of the stage is pretty platform intensive. We get our return of the Yoku blocks, but once again, we got beat, so we can pretty much just ignore it. But here, we're gonna see if Ahmad can do this mini boss fight. This fight,
Nice.
yeah, there we go. This fight can get out of control really easily if you don't manage your weapons accordingly. So with combinations of the Flame Blast, the Fire Blast, and the Desert Storm, you can pretty much just take out the gears for the mini boss as fast as possible. And meanwhile, it's pretty much just a straight shot towards the end that you get to your Ghost Woman fight. So, Blast Missile here just to cap things off.
And some drops to make me lose some time.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about drops later. But yeah, Ghost Woman, a relatively simple fight with the weakness weapon. All you pretty much do is just get your charge laser open. You can get a shot as quickly as possible as before she disappears, and this is literally the best RNG.
Nice.
Two single window flashes. She can do 2 window flashes before she appears. That wastes time, but you especially don't want to have her cast a shadow on you and make her use her primary weapon, which has a bit of a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, the Soul Trap is a very useful weapon. It captures weaker enemies and pretty much you can just ignore them, but yeah, it's the secondary function that winds up being a little bit of an issue because you're able to shoot it in any of the 8 directions, but the hitboxes are so strange in trying to collide with it that more likely than not, you will be angling it at a different direction than intended. So, like I said, it's a good weapon, but it's a complicated weapon. And you're seeing it right now in Beetle Lady stage. So, this stage pretty much is a straight shot. Once again, very weapon intensive. They're gonna be, like I said, using a lot of weapons in order to not only destroy enemies as quick as possible, but also utilizing them to reduce as many drops as possible. Because, yeah, as Ahmad alluded to, drops are really, really bad in this game. Pretty much any kind of drop will almost guarantee that you lose pace of your movement. And especially in this open air section, which is probably the most dangerous area in Beetle Lady stage. It's open air, there's a lot of enemies, and these acorn bombs, it's just a cluster cuss of just stuff in the way. But with proper shield bubble usage, and you pretty much just got, for all intents and purposes, a pretty smooth stage. So, Beetle Lady, you want to make sure you do the full power variant of the Soul Trap to deal maximum damage. You can do the normal shot for two hit points of damage, but yeah, you want to encapsulate her main weapon, which is the Beetle Drone, and use it against her and just reflect it right back at her for max damage. Meanwhile, the Beetle Drone itself that you get is probably the worst weapon in the game. I mean, it has its uses, but in general, it tracks enemies and shoots it on you along the horizontal position, but it can be a little unwieldy and it's not really used all that much in the 80% run. So we got our 8 rebels done. Now we're about to reach the end game, and we start with the ocean base. It's that big structure you see in the introduction. Now we're actually gonna get real deep into it, and this is where the game decides to throw a curveball at you. You see, right now we're starting as roll, and this is intended to be a stealth section. You're not supposed to be tripping these wires. As you can see, the wires do some very nasty things. But this is where the thing decides to throw a curveball at you. You've been playing roll for all this time, but now you're forced to play as Mega Man. And this is where the game kind of decides to play some games with you. You've been used to roll all this time, but now you got to remember how Mega Man works. And you're gonna have to remember this, because now, for the rest of the stage, you will be required to use Mega Man for some of the final half of the game. So for this boss, I See You Too, which is a pretty clever name. There we go. As you can see on the Mega Man side, if you hold the Soul Trap as you enter the gate, you can actually fire it, and you will deal 1 unit of damage as you start the fight. But for the rest of the fight, you really like to use Roll. Once again, her double jump just makes this fight borderline trivial. And with the blast missile, pretty much just pretty solid fight. But of course, like I said, this is end game. So the weapon ammo that you use from this stage does get carried over to... Yes, it was Wily. It's another Wily plot. Oh my gosh, it's Wily and all that joke and jazz right there. So, like I said, now that we're into the final stages, this is where the gimmick for the Wily stages gets a little bit interesting, because like I said, you are required to use both Mega Man and Roll for individual stages. So for this part, this is our first Mega Man stage at the Wily stages. As you can see, we already get the major gimmick right off the bat. There are going to be a crap ton of mechs, kind of a la Mega Man 4 Wily Stage 1. So this Robot Factory here, once again, weapon usage is key. There's a lot of shield bubble usage in this stage. Also a lot of Soul Trap usage. I would say probably about shield bubble, Soul Trap, and Desert Storm probably get the most use in this stage in order to get by the area as quickly as possible. And this stage can be really dangerous. A lot of conveyors, these meds, these pallet meds, they act as quicksand or at least mud to impede your movement. And overall, the Wily stages are definitely a step up in difficulty. And you get crushers toward the end. And the final crushers can be a bit tight, but I'm pretty sure Amai has been doing this for about... How long have you been running this game? I would say about a month, right?
About a month, yeah.
And already one of the top runners of this game, so he already knows the ins and outs of what to do in this game and already plays this at a high level. And you probably want to have this at a high level when you want to do this quick kill. The Mech Grabber is one of the most annoying bosses to deal with, not only because of how his fight works, a lot of his body is immune and has a very small weak point. But of course, the Soul Trap makes this fight very awkward. As you can see that he tried to angle the Soul Trap in a way to actually aim it towards the Meg Grabber, but it goes all different directions than intended. But very good recovery though.
Yeah, that was actually a really good backup for it, because once it goes wrong, it usually just... you will lose a cycle or two. It's going to be really bad.
So yeah, and now we go to our first roll stage of the Wily stages. And this is the power supply. As you can see, right off the bat, it decides to throw those parachute spikes that you saw in Missile Man stage. But once again, as long as you know how to use the double jump, as long as you know how to use beat, this stage is actually one of the more interesting fights for platforming. Decides to get the weapon ammo to keep that blast missile alive. Like I said, you using B to ignore all the platforming. Normally you would use those platformings. It's kind of like a Super Mario World aspect, as one platform sinks, the other rises. Also, yeah, gotta get through those pendulums. Those pendulums are on a cycle as soon as you enter the screens, so make sure you get your movement as good as possible so you don't get caught up by those pendulums and go to a pitfall death. But otherwise, it's a fairly short stage. Y'all ignoring one of the other major gimmicks. If you shoot one of the light bulbs, there will be platforms that illuminate, otherwise it will be inactive unless you shoot the lights, as you see right now. And that final one, glad you didn't shoot that one. That one's a little bit of a troll trick, where force that happen, you think you shoot it and you want to block your way, you pretty much die in the plasma below. Anyway, Big Bulb, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm gonna let the fight speak for itself.
There we go.
So yeah, this was intended. So normally, if you wasn't able to find that, you're supposed to use Desert Storm when you get inside the bulb, and it deals damage that way. It'll shoot you out, but you can actually overcharge the bulb with the charge laser, and it'll basically instant kill it. Alright, so our second required Mega Man stage, the Weapon Depot. This stage is now the Wily stages begin to show its fangs if it hasn't already. These explosive blocks, they get destroyed by certain weapons that you have, as well as the Chankies that are flying in the air. So you gotta manage your platform in that way. Also, kind of missed that blast missile shot, but otherwise that dark room is still safe. There's no big platforming hazards that make that dark room dangerous. Okay, so to our underwater section, just make sure that your platforming is good. These stingrays can't get in your way.
Ooh, missed my bubble there. That's fine.
Yeah, shield bubble for the final portion of the stage is pretty good. You can skip some of the platforming that way. But now we're about to get to the dangerous part of this game. This area with the exploding bosses and these giant Chankies, this can be a very dangerous area, especially for casual players. As you can see, the Desert Storm can blow away these Chanky makers. Well, not the Chanky makers, the Chankies, and just makes platforming a little bit easier, but the platforming is still tight, and you can still be in situations where you can hardly avoid or get through it as quickly as possible, and you wind up just, having issues with the explosive boxes. And also, shoutouts to Mega Man 1 in more ways than one. The underwater currents from Wily Stage 3, and a boss that's similar to it as well, CWU-02P. This is a 7-phase boss fight where each phase does a different attack, but as you can see, there are a few ways that you can kind of ignore it. Had to pop in that E-Tank. Definitely don't want to die in this fight. But yeah, the main method is a combination attack. Something you don't see often in Mega Man games. Kind of in the vein of Super Metroid, you're using the charged snow roller and then using a missile to deal massive damage. But as you can see, you also can use a little bit of an alternate method to destroy a bubble, in that you can use the Desert Storm, especially for those invisible mines. You can blow those away, and you can actually use Charge Laser in order to get a quick kill on a bubble phase. And now, Purple Hell Rolling Out Remix. This stage and I are joined at the hip, but I'll explain about that later. But for this stage, this is where the stage gets mean. This stage is gimmick central. As you can see already, the major gimmick is that it deals a lot in wraparound. Not only horizontally, but as you can see, it does so vertically as well. This stage has 0 pits, but to quote-unquote balance it out, there are a lot of spikes in this stage. Not only that, the level terrain is just brutal. There are Yoku blocks in this stage. There are petite devil enemies that you can't kill. They're more just shoot them and they just get out of your way. And here's... Okay, let's see how Ahmad does this part, because this part is very scary. Took a little bit of damage.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, took a little bit of damage, but that area can just be brutal in terms of damage. Alright, so now you get to the second portion of the stage, where it does a bit of an anti-gravity gimmick, but it's not you that upside down this time, but everything else is upside down. And yes, to quote in chat, the screen did flip. It pretty much signifies what you do dealing with the stage from the Wily map. This is the flip part that you saw on the map. Once again, the reverse gravity area. In a very solid stage, this stage is the bane of runs. Both Ahmad and I can attest to that.
Indeed, wow.
So yeah, here's our boss, the Yoku Devil. Fortunately, like I said, there are no pits. So if you fall down, you actually will wrap around. But you will want to use well-coordinated fire breath shots. And if you get one more shot, very well executed.
Man, I'm so relieved I didn't die there, because that stage, I'm not even kidding, just like Greed said, that is the stage in this game that is basically impossible.
Yeah, I would like to say I'm a playtester for this game. I playtested this game before its release. I have spent so much time working with that stage right there. It's basically my soulmate, for better or worse. But yeah, now you go to the penultimate stage, and now, like I said, in the lore, if you haven't been paying to the intro stage, there were 4 robots that were kidnapped. This is one of them, and this was a guest star. No, it's not Blade Man. This is actually Dagger Man from another fan game, Super Fighting Robot, which is another good fan game I do encourage you to play. But yeah, Dagger Man can be a bit of an RNG nightmare if you let the fight drag on, but well-coordinated soul traps, and pretty much a good fight. And here, you would normally face Skullman. But you saw Skullman in Wily Stage 3. There's another gimmick I didn't get to mention in regard to these 4 Robot Masters, but for right now we're not gonna hold because we're so deep into the game. But know this, if whatever Robot Masters you don't find and fight early in the 8 Robos, you will fight here in this stage. So you can have a potential of going through at least 4 fights in this stage alone to start. Because this stage is our rematch stage, it's our refight stage. So imagine going through our refight stage where you already gotta fight 8 bosses. And then you got a situation where if you don't save the kidnapped Robot Masters that are hidden in 4 Robot Master stages of the initial 8. Also, shoutouts to the beta Mega Man 9 design. This is Honey Woman. Basically, what Hornet Man could have been if Mega Man 9 had its way originally. But yeah, if you didn't face them earlier, you face them in this stage, and then you gotta do these refights. So right now, they're already dealing with 12 bosses in this stage. But since you already deal with Skullman in the 80% in Ghostwoman stage, instead of 12, you're dealing with 11. So have fun with that. But yeah, another interesting dynamic. Now with the teleporters, once again, you are forced to play with Mega Man. So in the refight, you're actually trading off between rock and roll between the refights. So managing weapon ammo and knowing how to use them between the two characters is very important. So this is why you gotta take stock from the previous Wily stages and know which robot masters to go and fight to yield the best possible time equations to get through the refights. And this is where our W tank gets popped in. And yes, we do use it on Mega Man because Mega Man is going to be more important for weapon uses, especially after this stage. But yeah, otherwise, it's pretty much just refights as intended. So if there's a quick donation or announcements that we get through before the main boss of the stage, go on ahead. Seems like we don't have much in way of donations. Of course, please feel free to donate. Game Over Cancer is a very fun marathon charity event. Been around for quite some time. Shout out to Strizer, Game Over Cancer, the whole crew that's been doing that for several years and has been doing a lot of success during those times. Very fun event. Try to catch as many as I can, all the runs and so on and so forth. Just a fun time throughout with a lot of runs, a lot of speed run talent. Just a pretty good event throughout. But yeah, as you can see, just pretty much going through the refights, dealing with robots and bastards as Mega Man and adjusting accordingly. Also, oh hey, a new teleporter. You remember Proto Man also got kidnapped as well, so guess who he gets to fight? So in this stage, depending on how you go through the entire stage, you can fight as little as 8 or fight a maximum of 13 boss fights in this stage alone. So yeah, that's how what 100% goes for. 100% will require you to save all of the kidnapped robot masters and eventually save Proto Man at some point. But I'm gonna let you find out how to save Proto Man on your own. A little bit of something to do on your own for casual playthrough. But yeah, the person that defeats Proto Man is the person that's going to be kidnapped. It's going to be your starting character. You would definitely want to have Rogue kidnapped for a surprisingly interesting time save, because once you get into the boss door of the final stage, as you can see, Mega Man can actually just go straight to the boss right then and there. If you go through as Rogue, you had to go through some extra platforming just to go to the other side, where you get to fight this friggin' monstrosity of a Wily Machine. And this is actually an insanely creative Wily Machine that uses both characters. You're pretty much just trading off rock and roll as quickly as possible. For the first phase, you're using a charge laser in order to destroy the eyes, but you're also using it to open the eyes as well. And this is where things can get it kind of draws the line between creative and convoluted. Because the weakness, you're actually using the Beetle drones to literally stuff the Wily Machine into the area where the bombs get dispersed. And now for our final phase, time will end when final hit is done. But yeah, shield a bubble for our Wily capsule. Right now, that was a good phase, and I think this is the best pattern out of all of them. But yeah, you can still gotta execute it. And that's time.
Nice.
That is actually a really solid run, and holy crap, I'm seeing your stream right now. That is a major goal split for you.
That was a good last split as well. 43 is awesome. There was one little death in Missile, but like, I don't know what happened. My computer kind of froze for a second there, and I took a hit from one of the eggs. So, yeah, excuses, but that's what happened. Other than that, that was basically deadless.
Yeah, that was an extremely good run. Getting a 43 in a marathon event is no simple feat. So the consistency that you've been putting on while learning the run has just been amazing. I struggle with consistency a lot. So seeing how you've done this run, this was just an amazing run. So real GG's to you, Ahmad.
Thank you very much. Of course, this is heavily inspired by you and the entire fan game / RomHack gang, so thank you very much for being the inspiration you are. And of course, thank you, Greed, for coming over to commentate. Much appreciated, even though it is early for you, but you know, gotta sacrifice for these events sometimes, right?
Oh, I love doing commentary for this game. Like I said, there's a bit of me in this game because, like I said, I play tested. I gave ideas, on some of the platforming, even some of the weapons. Like I said, my best thing I added to this game: go empty fire the fire breath when it's empty. Just do that at one point. Ahmad's seen it. That's one of my ideas. It's a small thing, but it's one of my favorites.
It's amazing, cute little detail.
But yeah, just want to once again shout outs to Game Over Cancer for all their work, all the runners that done their runs. And before we head out, there we see LV Creed, my actual name and my alias in here as playtester. So yeah, like I said, a little bit of me in this game. But like I said, whenever this game is showcased, usually like to have a little bit of tradition, show the ending and such, and also a moment of silence for the very ending, because this is the reason why this game has been made. So moment of silence right quick.
That is so well said. I love it.
Yeah, that's the reason why this game was made. A lot of heart and effort went into this, and I'm glad that people pick it up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the run. So, Ahmad, I'm gonna hand it to you to close this thing out, and then we can hand it back to Game Over Cancer. So, last words, Ahmad.
All right, yeah, thank you, Game Over Cancer, once again for having me here. Always fun event, and thank you, obviously, Strizer, the entire crew behind this event. You guys are awesome. Very friendly bunch, by the way. If you ever been interested of joining these marathons, definitely encourage you to do so. But yeah, thank you for having me, and this is a good kickoff for the second Mega Man block of the day. So hope you guys have a good marathon for the rest of the marathon, that is, and have a great day. See you guys soon. Keep toning.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys. That run was awesome. You did phenomenally for your time. Always good to see a marathon run go well. As for everyone else, don't go anywhere. Going to pop to a brief intermission. We're going to be back with a race next, so you'll want to stick around.